The wait is over. After weeks of speculation, sidelining, and soft political maneuvering, Shedeur Sanders is finally stepping into the spotlight as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns preseason matchup against the Carolina Panthers. For the fans, it's a chance to see what he can do. For the franchise, it's a moment of reckoning. But for Shedeur himself, this is a culmination of months of being doubted, dissected, and dismissed. And now he gets the ball. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Let's not sugarcoat how we got here. This wasn't some elegant transition of power. This wasn't a quarterback competition, resolved through merit. This was chaos, injury, and front office corner cutting finally forcing the Browns to do the one thing they were terrified of: give Shedeur a real shot. And let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders was never supposed to be the guy. Not in the eyes of the Browns hierarchy. When he was drafted, it felt more like a stunt than a strategy. Jimmy Haslam wanted headlines, not headaches. Andrew Berry was intrigued, sure, but cautious. Stefanski, politely non-committal. So they stuck it behind names like Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel. Veterans and rookies with NFL experience, sure, but not NFL success. From day one, Sanders was labeled a marketing pick, a quarterback with a famous dad, a flashy college resume, and a presumed ceiling already set by skeptical analysts. He was buried on the depth chart, boxed into backup reps, and told to develop quietly. And yet every time he touched the ball, he didn't just make noise, he made statements. Clean dropbacks, smart reads, precision timing, leadership in the huddle. His throws weren't just accurate, they were surgical. His presence didn't feel like a rookie's. It felt like someone who'd been here before. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Shedeur has been under the lights for years now. From Jackson State to Colorado, from playing under Coach Prime to being doubted by pro scouts. He's lived in the pressure cooker his entire football life. But none of that mattered to the Browns. Because they weren't looking for a story. They were looking for a scapegoat. Shedeur's low draft position, 144th overall, wasn't a reflection of his talent. It was a setup for silence, a way to say, see, we tried, without actually trying. Even as Gabriel struggled to complete a third of his throws in training camp, Shedeur was limited to garbage time reps. Flacco got the benefit of veteran status. Pickett got the benefit of experience. Shedeur, he got water breaks and sideline film study. Until the bodies started dropping. Pickett tweaked a knee. Gabriel's mechanics imploded. Flacco's arm looked cooked by week 2 of camp. Tyler Huntley? A last-minute insurance policy with one job. Be just good enough to avoid playing Shedeur. But when Huntley struggled to grasp the offense in joint practice, the Browns were out of options. Suddenly, the kid they tried to ignore was the only one left standing. And isn't that poetic? Because while everyone else was cycling through mistakes, Shedeur was quietly mastering the playbook. While veterans were managing expectations, he was building chemistry with backup receivers, staying late, showing up early, and asking the O-line about protections like he was a coach himself. So now here we are, Panthers on deck, a national preseason broadcast, and Shedeur Sanders finally under center, not in mop-up duty. Not in scout team shadow drills, but as the guy. The stakes? Oh, they're massive. For Sanders, this is more than just a game. It's a declaration, a chance to finally put all the whispers to rest, to prove that his arm strength, poise, and pocket presence aren't just camp anecdotes. They're real. That the 74% completion rate in college wasn't a fluke. It was a preview. That his footwork isn't just coachable. It's elite. He knows he only gets one first impression on this stage, and you better believe he's coming in with something to prove. For the Browns, it's a referendum. Every snap Sanders takes is a spotlight on the organization's decision-making. If he performs well, they can no longer pretend he's developing. If he commands the huddle, they can't say he's learning the ropes. If he throws darts, escapes pressure, and outperforms the veterans who couldn't make it to kickoff, the narrative changes. And it won't favor them. Because suddenly, the Browns will have asked themselves, what exactly have we been doing this whole time? They kept him fourth on the depth chart. They limited his media presence. They fed talking points to downplay his progress. But if Shedeur goes out and drops a near-perfect performance against a real defense, they're going to look like clowns who bench a franchise quarterback. So Joe Flacco could wobble through 2-yard checkdowns. And then there's the public. Let's not pretend fans haven't noticed what's going on. Every time Sanders made a crisp throw in a highlight reel and still didn't move up the depth chart, eyebrows were raised. Every time another quarterback threw 3 picks in a scrimmage and still got first-team reps, social media exploded. People aren't dumb. They watched this team butcher QB development for years. They've seen the carousel spin over and over. Manziel, Mayfield, Kaiser, McCoy, R.J. Hoyer, Watson, and the list goes on. So now they're watching Shedeur with hope, but also with suspicion, because Cleveland fans have been here before. They've seen potential buried under pride and talent wasted in favor of politics. They're waiting to see if this time, just this time, the Browns will finally do the right thing. And don't forget the other quarterbacks watching this unfold. What happens if Shedeur balls out? Do they slide him up the chart? Or do they panic and reinstate a broken system out of fear? If you're Dylan Gabriel, you're probably sweating. If you're Kenny Pickett, you're watching from the sideline, hoping your injury becomes a shield. If you're Joe Flacco, you're realizing that retirement isn't just looming, it's calling collect. But for Shedeur, this moment is pure opportunity. Because he doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be better. Better than Gabriel. More composed than Huntley. Sharper than Pickett. More mobile than Flacco. And if you watch the practices, if you've seen the drills, you already know he is. What we're seeing is the start of a possible quarterback takeover. And not the forced, face of the franchise rollouts we've seen before. This is something earned. Something undeniable. A performance that no depth chart politics can bury. And beyond the stat sheet, there's something bigger here. Something cultural. Shedeur represents a shift in quarterback identity. He's not just mobile, he's surgical. He's not just confident, he's composed. He's not a dual-threat gimmick or a legacy project. He's a quarterback molded by adversity, media pressure, and expectation. He walks into the huddle like he's always belonged there. He commands respect not with volume, but with clarity. He doesn't crumble under the lights. He shines in them. And for a Browns team desperate for a leader, for a true QB1, this could be the turning point they didn't plan for. But here's the kicker. If he plays well and they still bench him, it won't just be a bad football decision. It'll be a scandal. The media will eat it alive. The locker room will start to fracture. The fans will demand answers. And every analyst with a platform will start asking the one question Cleveland hates more than any other. Why do the Browns always fumble their future? Because Shedeur's performance against the Panthers won't be just about yardage or completion rate. It'll be a symbol, a challenge to the narrative, a middle finger to the assumptions made about him before he ever threw an NFL pass. This is more than preseason. This is vindication in the making. This is every overlooked kid, every doubted player, every prospect who wasn't invited to the table, standing at the podium and taking the mic anyway. The Browns wanted to show they're about to get one. And when the final whistle blows, when Shedeur walks off that field, either as a surprise success or the most frustrating what if in recent memory, one thing will be absolutely clear. The wait is over. The stage is his. Now let's see what he does with it. There's a certain silence that falls over a stadium right before something historic happens. Not loud, not chaotic, just an eerie electric stillness. That's exactly the kind of atmosphere building around Shedeur Sanders as he prepares to take the field as the starting quarterback for Cleveland Browns. It's not just preseason buzz. It's not just curiosity. It's the rare moment where a player steps from under the weight of perception and into full ownership of his potential. And Shedeur isn't just stepping, he's walking tall. Because make no mistake, this moment is seismic. Not only because it's unexpected, not only because it wasn't supposed to happen this early, but because everything about Shedeur's presence in that starting lineup challenges the blueprint. The NFL loves its narratives, safe picks, clean resumes, cookie-cutter personalities. Shedeur, he's a little louder, a little smoother, and a lot more defiant than what traditionalists are used to. And that's exactly why this matters. From the start, Shedeur was a quarterback who refused to play the game behind the game. He didn't chase approval. He didn't bow to pre-draft politics. He didn't care about impressing anonymous scouts with vague intangibles. He let his tape talk. And yet, somehow, his name kept slipping, dropping in mock drafts, ignored in prospect articles, treated like an accessory to his father's story, not a story of his own. But now, all that manufactured noise is fading, and what's left is the one thing that actually matters. Football. You can't spin a clean spiral. You can't politicize poise. And you definitely can't fake the kind of field command Shedeur has been quietly showing all through training camp. From his pre-snap reads to his effortless footwork in the pocket, he's not played like a guy who just wants to belong. He's played like a guy who's wondering what took so long. And what's so wild about all this is how perfectly timed it is. The Browns have been grasping at quarterback relevance for decades. From Johnny Manziel's implosion to Baker Mayfield's flameout, from Deshaun Watson's off-field distractions to Kenny Pickett's inconsistency, they've been running a loop of disappointment that would make even the most loyal fans question their sanity. Then, almost by accident, they draft a kid in the 5th round who carries himself like a first-rounder, trains like a vet, and studies like a coach. But instead of leaning into that gift, they try to hide him behind clipboards and cliches. Because the truth? Shedeur's presence threatens the whole structure. It challenges the assumption that experience always beats talent, that legacy always means nepotism, that quarterbacks have to fit a mold that was designed decades ago for a different era of the game. He's not here to be the next Tom Brady. He's not trying to copy Mahomes. He's not even trying to step into his dad's gold-plated cleats. He's carving something different, a new archetype, a quarterback who blends charisma with calculation, swagger with structure, a leader who knows exactly who he is and dares you to underestimate it. And now that he's getting the starting nod, everything changes. This isn't just a trial run. It's a public test. Every decision he makes on the field will be dissected. Every throw will be analyzed like it's a playoff game. Every misstep will be amplified. But you know what? That's not a threat to Shedeur. That's his environment. He's played under microscopes before. At Jackson State, where every snap was a headline. At Colorado, where every win was overhyped and every loss was overjudged. Shedeur has never had the luxury of easing into the spotlight. His entire football life has been under pressure, and that pressure's made him bulletproof. And what makes this even more exciting isn't just Shedeur's presence. It's who he's surrounded by. This isn't some rebuilding roster with 1 or 2 bright spots. Cleveland has weapons. David Njoku, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, a bruising run game when healthy, a defense anchored by Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. This team isn't just desperate, it's loaded. They've got the bones of a real contender, but they've lacked the one position that could pull it all together. And now, maybe they finally have it. That's the thing about quarterbacks. They don't just play a position. They shape a team's identity. With Shedeur under center, everything feels different. Faster, sharper, more dangerous. You start to believe in plays you wouldn't dare call before. The offensive line finds a second wind. Receivers stretch their routes deeper. The defense holds tighter because they believe the offense can deliver. That kind of energy is contagious. And right now it's spreading. It's spreading in the locker room, where teammates are starting to rally behind the rookie who never asked for special treatment but earned every ounce of respect. It's spreading through the coaching staff, who are starting to realize that playing it safe isn't going to get them anywhere but fired. And it's spreading to the fan base who watch too many slow, awkward quarterback transitions to ignore what they're seeing now. Something real. But perhaps the most poetic part of all this? The people who tried the hardest to keep Shedeur in the shadows are the ones about to get burned by the spotlight he's walking into. Jimmy Haslam wanted distance from the pick. He didn't want this story to be about Deion's kid. He didn't want to admit the franchise may have lucked into their best quarterback since the expansion era. And now, he'll be the one standing on the sideline, gritting his teeth, as Shedeur gets cheered like the future he tried to bury. Kevin Stefanski, the coach who shuffled him down the depth chart out of caution or maybe politics, now has to roll with him. Not because he wanted to, but because the circumstances left no choice. And the front office? The same guys who played musical chairs with aging veterans and unproven stopgaps now have to reckon with the fact that the player they treated like an afterthought might be the one who saved their jobs. That's not just poetic justice. That's poetic domination. And beyond Cleveland, the league is watching. Other franchises are peeking over the fence now, wondering how they missed this. Media outlets are scrambling to adjust their preseason quarterback rankings. Analysts who mocked the pick are quietly walking back their critiques. The same voices who said Shedeur would never survive in the NFL now have to confront the possibility that he's about to thrive on their watch. But perhaps what matters most in all this is the way Shedeur handles it. He's not tweeting victory laps. He's not posting dramatic, "I told you so" captions. He's not calling out the haters. He's showing up, showing poise, showing polish, and letting the numbers, the rhythm, the command, all speak louder than any headline. There's something deeply satisfying about watching someone bet on themselves and win. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders is doing right now. He bet that the NFL would eventually see past the noise. He bet that his preparation would beat their prejudice. He bet that when the moment came, he wouldn't flinch. And guess what? The moment is here. The stadium lights are warming up. The pads are snapping. The buzz is growing. And somewhere on the sideline, while cameras scramble to find a shot and broadcasters rehearse their introductions, Shedeur stands at the edge of the field. Helmet on, eyes forward, calm as ever. Because this isn't the beginning of a dream. It's the beginning of a reckoning. And by the time this game ends, win or lose, one thing will be absolutely certain. Shedeur Sanders isn't a project. He's not raw potential. He's not Coach Prime's kid. He's a quarterback, a damn good one. And now the world finally has no choice but to see it. And yet, what makes this moment even more extraordinary isn't just what Shedeur Sanders has accomplished so far. It's what he represents. In many ways, Shedeur is walking into the NFL as a symbol of a new generation of athletes who aren't waiting for permission. They're not asking to fit into old molds. They're designing new ones. For decades, the league has preferred a certain kind of quarterback, buttoned up, predictable, non-threatening in interviews, someone who could lead without shaking the status quo. But Shedeur, he's not here for that kind of football politics. And if he does, everything changes, because this wasn't the plan. Let's not forget that. The Browns did not map this out. Shedeur wasn't brought in to start. He was supposed to be the fourth-string insurance policy, a developmental guy, a future maybe. But as the dominoes fell, Pickett banged up, Flacco fading, Gabriel overwhelmed, Shedeur was the one who stepped up with calm, with control, and with undeniable consistency. And now they're forced to face it. Maybe he is the best option, but this goes even deeper. If Shedeur excels, he won't just be winning a job. He'll be shifting the power dynamic inside the building. It puts pressure on the front office for overlooking him. It forces the coaching staff to rethink their loyalty to experience over talent. And it forces ownership, particularly Jimmy Haslam, to acknowledge that the player they publicly distance themselves from might be the one who holds a franchise's future in his hands. That's a lot for any player to carry. But Shedeur, he's not buckling. Instead, he's focused, detailed, dialed in. He's poring over tape like a 10-year vet. He's coordinating extra throwing sessions with his receivers. He's taking questions from media with humility, but also with an edge that says, "I know who I am." It's that edge that can make him lethal, because when a player combines preparation with purpose, that's where greatness lives. And let's talk about Jimmy Horn Jr. again for a moment, because while Shedeur commands the spotlight, Jimmy has quietly become his most dangerous weapon. Their chemistry goes beyond the field. It's timing, trust, telepathy. They know each other's tendencies, their routes, their moods. Jimmy knows when Shedeur is about to scramble. Shedeur knows when Jimmy's about to break off coverage. It's magic, the kind that doesn't come from a playbook. It comes from years of grinding together, being doubted together, and now rising together. This Browns offense, for the first time in a while, has the potential to look different, less sluggish, less predictable, faster, younger, more dangerous. And the defense? You don't think Myles Garrett wants a quarterback who can hold a lead for once? You don't think Denzel Ward is tired of playing in fourth-quarter shootouts because he often stalled out? If Shedeur delivers, this team won't just improve, it could gel, because leadership isn't just about performance. It's about belief. And right now, for the first time all camp, this team looks like it believes in someone. So when Shedeur Sanders walks onto that field in Carolina, just know it's not just another preseason game. It's not just another rookie getting a shot. It's a reckoning. The doubters, the critics, the narratives, the old systems, the closed doors. They've all had their time. Now it's Shedeur's turn. And from the look in his eyes, he's not just ready to play. He's ready to change everything.